secluded road, a 40-year-old man was driving his old car. The full moon's light filtered through the leaves of the dense forest lining the road. Suddenly, an odd noise erupted from the engine, followed by a severe jolt, pulling the car to the roadside. The man stepped out, worried, and opened the hood to inspect the engine. As he did, an unusual sound echoed from the depths of the forest. It seemed like a moan, or perhaps the simultaneous cries of several beings. He looked around, but saw nothing beyond the impenetrable darkness of the woods. Returning to the car, the engine showed no signs of life. He reached for his phone to call for help, but there was no signal. Glancing at his watch, he noticed the hands had stopped moving. Time seemed to have frozen in that moment. The sounds began again, this time closer and clearer. The man moved towards the noises, but with each step closer to the forest, the air grew colder. Suddenly, in the darkness, he saw glowing eyes staring back at him. His heart began to race, breath caught in his chest. The glowing eyes vanished, replaced by a whispering sound that seemed to come from all directions within the forest. The man looked around in terror, but he could see nothing. It felt as though he was not just trapped in the forest, but in another world entirely. Suddenly, a thick fog began to coil around his feet, slowly rising to envelop him completely. Through the mist, he saw shadows moving towards him. The whispering turned into a dreadful chant, and the man realized the shadows were chanting. The language was unknown to him, but each word he heard deepened the fear within him. The man ran back towards his car, but with each step he took, the forest seemed to grow further away. The whispering grew louder, now as if attacking him from every direction. Suddenly, one of the shadows emerged from the mist, half human, half beast in form. Its eyes were red, and its mouth was full of sharp teeth. The man's scream echoed through the forest, blending with the whispers. Suddenly, all was silent. The fog thickened, swallowing all sight. The man looked around in fear and noticed an unfamiliar path before him, illuminated by the moonlight, seemingly leading into the heart of the forest. He cautiously stepped onto the path. With each step, he heard the crunch of dry leaves beneath his feet. Then, another sound reached his ears, the sound of footsteps following him. The man turned around, but there was no one there. His heart pounded fiercely, and fear enveloped him. He continued on and reached a point where the path forked. One led towards light, the other into absolute darkness. The whispering started again, this time encouraging him towards both paths. The man didn't know which to choose. He looked up at the sky and saw that the moon had strangely morphed into a terrifying face. At that moment, the man decided to head towards the light, but with each step towards the light, it dimmed. When he reached the light, he realized it emanated from the eyes of a colossal creature waiting for him. A creature with black skin and eyes that glowed like two volcanoes. The man wanted to scream, but no sound came out. The creature moved towards him slowly, and with each step it took, the ground beneath the man trembled. The warm breath of the creature could be felt on his neck, and a deadly stench of decay filled the air. The man looked back and saw that the path he had come from was no longer there. The forest had swallowed him, and there was no way out. At that moment, a soft and mysterious voice came from the creature. It spoke in Persian, saying, "You have made your choice, and now you must live with the consequences." The man looked into the creature's eyes with fear, and saw something he would never forget. Eyes that told countless stories of suffering and torment. The man remembered that he had a small mirror in his pocket, a mirror his mother had given him, saying to take it out in times of danger. With trembling hands, he took out the mirror and held it towards the creature. The moonlight reflected on the mirror, casting a brilliant light. The creature was thrown back with a terrifying scream, and at that moment, the fog around dispersed. The man saw that in the midst of the forest stood an ancient tree with strange carvings on it, carvings that seemed to tell ancient stories. He approached the tree and placed his hand on the carvings. Suddenly, a voice came from the tree, and the man realized the tree was speaking to him. The tree said, "You have been chosen to uncover the secrets of this forest." The man asked in astonishment, "What secrets?" The tree replied, "Secrets that can only be discovered with a pure heart and good intentions." The man looked at the tree and understood that he had a great mission ahead. But before he could ask another question, the whispering started again, and the man realized the forest was changing once more. The trees shifted slowly, creating new paths. The man watched in amazement as the forest transformed into a mysterious maze. The whispering continued, now seemingly coming closer from every direction. With each step he took in the maze, he saw shadows moving in the corners. These shadows had strange shapes, sometimes resembling human figures and other times wild animals. The man felt eyes watching him from the darkness, and with every moment, his sense of insecurity grew. Suddenly, the man came upon a grand hall that stood in the middle of the forest. The hall was illuminated by mysteriously lit candles. In the center of the hall, there was a statue of a creature, half human and half animal. The statue had eyes that seemed to still be watching the man. The man moved towards the statue and reached out his hand. Instantly, the statue came to life and spoke with a voice that echoed from the depths of the forest. "You must choose between light and darkness." The man looked at the statue with hesitation and asked, "How can I choose?" The statue replied, "Choose with your heart, not with your eyes." The man listened to his heart and felt that he should move towards the darkness. He walked towards the dark, and as he went further, the whispering sounds grew fainter. Eventually, he reached a grand gate that seemed to open into another world. The man took a deep breath and stepped towards the gate with courage. It opened with a screeching sound, and he entered a world beyond his wildest imagination, a place where time and space had no meaning, and everything was in flux. Creatures he had never heard of lived around him, and the air was filled with whispers that now spoke in a language he could understand. The man searched for answers to the questions in his mind. He was drawn to a light shining from afar, a light that seemed to guide him. The closer he got to the light, the more peaceful he felt, and the whispers turned into a soothing melody. Suddenly he found himself in front of a great tree that radiated light, a tree that seemed to be the heart of this new world. He approached the tree and touched its bark. At that moment, a powerful energy transferred from the tree to him, transporting him elsewhere. He opened his eyes and found himself back by the roadside, next to his car. Everything had returned to normal. His car was working again, and the whispers were gone. The man looked around in wonder, then walked to his car. He started the vehicle and drove away from the forest, but in the rearview mirror he saw glowing eyes staring back at him. The man smiled, thinking that perhaps one day he would return to that mysterious world.